That is how I feel. That emoji says it all. Upside down and sucking on fumes and just burnt everything. Burnt coffee, burnt brain, burnt time. Lots of time burnt. Kind of cryptic about it. T minus and then a second. That's just because each week feels like a second. So first, let's start off with some positives. So how about some thank yous? Because honestly, I've had a lot of people show up for me. It's been virtual. You've been sending me some messages, texts, some audios, some phone calls, and it's kept me going. So even though I said I was sucking on fumes, you guys provided some of the propellant too, the good stuff, because I needed it these last couple of weeks. And a quick shout out to my mom, because she was also one of those who gave me a call and gave me some kudos.
What was it that, let me see, she sent me a text message here. Yeah, where is that? Mama.
Here we go. And I told her, I warned her that she was going to become part of the content in my next video because she gave me an awesome segue. She gave me some awesome feedback that I quickly dismissed because she was my mom. And this is what I said. I said, I apologized to her. Hey, I didn't mean to dismiss your assessment with your my mom comment. It's just that my idealism is something I want so badly that I have forced myself to become quite the realist about it. Very true. But she became this piece because it was just so cool to get that from her and also to realize how quickly, I think probably a lot of us are, to dismiss compliments in general. Yeah, it's hard to take a compliment. It's like, well, how, do you really mean that? Do I really deserve it? There's all these weird psychological things that come into play. And then when it's someone who's related to you, I don't know about you, but I certainly feel like, not that the compliment is less valuable, but that it's biased. I mean, come on, you're my mom, right? So it's like, yeah, I know you like my videos, but you're supposed to. So this is her. And she replied, said, hey, stay tuned. You're probably going to be part of my content. She's like, huh? Don't leave me hanging. Yeah, she knows emojis, bitmojis. I don't. So she is not behind the times, as might be the case in some other people's lives when they get to be her age. Sorry, Mom, I'm also aging too, so I'm allowed to make comments like that. I actually am behind the times. I do not use Bitmoji. So yeah, even though I pushed away her compliment to some degree, my reason for it was still pretty sound. I mean, if you want your idealism, you gotta be a realist about it. And part of that, yes, was recognizing that getting compliments and getting good feedback is good, but it shouldn't be what allows you to determine your success. You shouldn't put too much stock in that. You should just do the work, see what happens, get the feedback, and usually it's the negative feedback that's what's going to help you grow the most. And I don't like negative feedback, but it's been the best feedback I've received by far. So yeah, be realist about your idealism, but no, when you get a compliment, take it, especially if it's from Mom. Oh, by the way, she's in the epigraph of my pre-sequel. She shares the epigraph with Rick Warren, so enjoy. Now on to some negativity. You know, I said I wanted to be a realist, so here we go, let's be real. I got excited about this thing called continuous camera. In general, I try to improve the way in which I do all of my creative efforts on a very iterative basis. As soon as I have a little bit of extra room to try something new, I try it, even though it's going to be awkward and uncomfortable at first. And I thought, okay, it'd be nice to not have to deal with a separate camera that's not my phone. Yeah, I've got a DSLR. Yeah, I've got all the wonderful gear that helps me do good video, but I've got my phone in my pocket all the time, and it's a great iPhone. It's a new one. Why can't I still not use this darn thing? And I've tried many different ways of using it in the past, and they've always failed miserably. Not miserably, just unexpectedly. Some app notification comes up and interrupts your darn recording. Someone makes a phone call and interrupts the recording. The phone decides to die and run out of battery or storage and it interrupts the recording. There's a lot of things that interrupt the recording, and I just got tired of trying to deal with phones because they're not dedicated to your camera. They're dedicated to making other companies money. I said it. So, but there is ways around that. I get it. You know, you could turn off all of your notifications, put it on airplane mode, and there's a lot of things you can do, and I've done those, and I've still had problems. But then this thing with continuous camera came up. And this is a technology that I got excited about because it was going to allow, it promised, to allow your phone to be used as a webcam. So instead of recording directly on your phone and then transferring the video and then editing it on your whatever and then doing what you need to do to push it out, it was going to actually talk wirelessly from the web camera, from the camera on the phone, to your desktop instead of storing the stuff on the camera first. It's going to send it directly, wirelessly. I could put the phone anywhere and be just fine, not tethered. I said, all right, sure, I'll bite. What's going to go wrong, but I'll bite. I hesitated a lot because when I learned about it, I realized it only works on Ventura. That's the latest Apple operating system. And I thought, okay, I've upgraded, but do I really want to break currently working software right now? I got a lot of things that currently work. Do I really want to break those things? Because every time I upgrade, something downgrades. It's just part of life. And I teach this and how to deal with limiting the number of third parties you introduce into your own ecosystem. But we won't go there for now. I'll save that for my courses. But I decided, let me just go ahead and do it and see what happens. And it worked. Blessed, it worked. Once. A single time. The wireless didn't after that. And I did some research and found out that everybody was running into the same problems. Oh, it worked the very first time. I updated my operating system. It took about 3 hours to do that. And then when I finally got this continuous camera connected, it only worked one time on the wireless. Like, all right, awesome, Apple. You got me to bite. You got me to upgrade. Cool. Now what? And anyways, long story short, I got it to work again, but it only works with a wire. So it's still tethered. Not as ideal, but hey, at least I'm getting good quality video from my phone. So that's kind of nice. So let's be thankful. Let's continue, even though this is the negativity bit, let's continue being thankful with that. Here's one more negative though. I was starting to do a lot of work on Amazon this week and last week. All this formatting, all of this moving stuff around and realizing, and by the way, this has been going on not just with Amazon, but with this other software that I'm using called Atticus to do your formatting of your books for months now. And as I'm doing this, I'm realizing, man, you almost need a degree in web development, which by the way, I am one. I'm a web developer. 3 decades of software development across all kinds of different things. So you should take this pretty seriously when I say this. Of course, I'm the one saying it, so you got to find out if I'm full of BS or not. Look me up. But I was like, do you really have to have a web development degree, software development degree to create books, ebooks? Feels like it. There are so many things that go wrong with the formatting. And so that's a negative too, but I've been making lots of recipes to keep track of all these things that go wrong and all these little gotchas and things that you just have to massage into place and convince, yeah, no, I really meant for you to do that. Please, yes, I know you're asking a third time if I really want to. Yeah, I really want you to do that. Please, software, computer, please do that. And automating some of that so I don't have to keep answering the same questions over and over again. But yeah, it's amazing. And a lot of this is not just that there's inherent conflicts with all these different software and systems that different people want you to buy into and then say they all work with each other. I mean, there is that aspect of it too, but it's not just that people will do things to purposefully make software not compatible with other things that they don't own, but also that it's just so complicated. There's so many variables. And as a software developer, I tend to be a little bit more conscientious about that before I start throwing any flame wars around and getting angry. But that being said, there's still a lot to be angry about at times. And again, I will save that for my courses because I'm looking forward to those. Looking forward to speaking some truth on that. All right, so let's skip out of the negativity. Branding consistency over the last 2 weeks, unifying all of the social accounts. That meant getting the bios, the banners, the profile pics, all the images. Man, that was a bear. Again, it made sense to include that in the recipe so that I don't have to think through all of this stuff every time I make a change. I just want something to tell me what I need to do or have it do it for me and automate that stuff, be done. There's no sense in repeating something over and over again that you already know how to do. If you know how to automate it, please do. But one thing that came out of it that was really cool was writing a one-liner for my bio. And man, that was so, let me look that up on LinkedIn. I was really excited about this because for those of you that know me, I tend to be kind of verbose. Precision is not my instrument. I'm not the best when it comes to one-liners. I'm not talking about jokes here either, but those two, I'm not the best. Here's my one-liner on LinkedIn. Artists, empaths, creative punks, become a successful storyteller with a hashtag. I use one of those, yeah. Define your life calling faster. The reason that was so exciting to me was because it was so hard. And because it actually spoke a lot of truth, and that scared me too. There was excitement in the scariness. It's amazing how much you can discover when you try to write a book. When you're trying to find out who the book is for, in this case series, who these books are for, it takes a lot of time and thought, and it did. And as you're trying to find out who's your ideal audience, who you actually trying to serve, and that niche concept that gets thrown around a lot, it's not something that feels comfortable doing. I'm going to be alienating some people. And they say that's what you want to do because the closer you get to just those who are interested in what you have, the faster you can succeed. But man, it just doesn't feel like that when you're doing it. It just feels like you are going to be pushing a lot of people away. And I might. And hopefully it's the right people that I want to push away and only bring the ones that are going to be in my corner, with me in my corner. I started saying earlier that I was super excited about it because it was a scary thing. The reason I say it's scary is because I started doing this on LinkedIn, where traditionally that is considered a professional platform. Am I a professional? I am at certain things. Do I like acting professional? No. Do I like wearing a suit and tie? No. Do I like sucking up to people and climbing ladders? And I'm not trying to say that's what LinkedIn is about, but that's how I've often felt as a younger person using LinkedIn and being fearful of it displaying things about me that the wrong people will find out. I mean, I think to some extent we all feel that way to some degree across any social media, right? You're exposing yourself, you're opening yourself up for all kinds of things, right? But LinkedIn, for some reason, always felt scarier to show the real me because it never seemed to fit the genre of that platform. People are talking about business to business, and you know, put your best foot forward, and how can that make a lot of money? And this is something that I'm going to hopefully be helping a lot of people with, this concept of not feeling like you're worth your true value and the money that you can make from that, because it's not about money. You know, when you're doing something that's valuable, that you enjoy, it's going to bring some money because it's valuable. That's inherent. It's not that you have to worry about money first. But anyways, I digress. And then Amazon. I learned a lot over the last 2 weeks. Hopefully I'll remember a lot too. That was a bear. So let's start off with just the subtitles and just realizing how many things we're missing. Like I know how to write. I'm good at creative writing. I'm not good at the process of creating a book. This is the first time I'm doing, well, this is the third time because I got a pre-sequel and 2 books coming up that are done. But man, I forgot things like having a subtitle. I forgot having my author name on the book. I guess I wanted to just have it be anonymous. Sure. Like things like that were being brought up to me just by following Amazon's procedures. And actually, to be fair, it was mostly not Amazon that taught me most of what I needed to know. I'm going to put a link down there to this place called Kindlepreneur. I think it's kindlepreneur.com. I'm not going to try to teach you anything because this guy has already done it. If you're trying to do anything that has to do with ebooks, paperbacks, anything where you're trying to be a self-publisher, wow, has this guy saved me a lot of time. And I'm not endorsing him because I'm just saying, like, I looked him up after hearing tons of things about him from many other people, and they were right. So I don't know him personally, but I've sent him lots of emails. He's responded to most of them because I've had some problems too, but he's been really quick about it too. So But yeah, so just understanding how to keep the title, the author, the subtitle, all the data that's on the cover of your book needs to match what's in the metadata that's going to be submitted to Amazon, and that was fun. But I finally got to publish the ebook. I'd love to say I had the paperback ready, but I'm still waiting on that because there were some problems there. Get to those in a bit. But I had to do keywords too. This was a huge one. And by the way, again, Kindlepreneur saved me with this. There's this thing called Publisher Rocket that I had to learn about. And wow, that was fun. Not really, but I'm glad it exists. This thing helped me find all the different keywords and the categories and the competitors and how many books it takes before you get to number one and all that stuff organized in one application that then allows you to feed and populate all this stuff into Amazon instead of having to go through it yourself and copy pasting. And I've got carpal tunnel, so no thank you. Don't want to do that kind of work if I've got something like Publisher Rocket that does it for me. You still got to do some work, but Publisher Rocket saves a lot of time. It sounds like I'm really endorsing this guy. Like I'm getting a kickback. Again, I don't know him other than the emails. It's just this guy has really saved me a lot of time, so he deserves a shout out. And you deserve to save some time too if it helps you. So I know there's a lot of videos that seem to be pushing some product that they're affiliated with. I don't have any affiliation links or anything, so whether or not you trust that is up to you, but you'll find out if you want to. So got all those keywords, synchronized all the verbiage across all the social media, my website. The back cover of the paperback, that's a totally different animal. Like initially I was very nervous about that because I was like, all right, well, I already have the verbiage for the blurb. Why can't I just reuse that? It just kind of spells out a little bit about what's inside the book. And no, apparently the back cover of a book is more like an advertisement, is what I've read and learned. You need to be able to share a little bit of what's inside the book, but it's mostly got to be enticing the reader to want to read more. That sounds obvious now, but it wasn't before. And trying to wrap my head around that and the fact that you only have a certain amount of space on the back of your book, it's a little bit challenging. And then you start biting yourself when you realize, doggone it, I should have made it a 6x9 instead of a 5x8 inch book. Got less space to work with. That's just how I was thinking at the time. It's actually good to have less space because it forces you to be concise. Again, something I'm not. So yeah, I spent a lot of time stressing over that. Finally came up with a description that I really, by the way, I love the paperback. It took me forever to create that because I had the cover for the ebook, the cover for the audiobook, the cover for the album book that I'm working on, whatever. But then the physical one, I'm like, I was worried about that. And finally, when I got that figured out, it was just like, it made me smile. I'm looking at it, it's like, I can't show you. I wanted to show you, but I can't because it's not up there yet because there was an error and Amazon has to get back to me. But let's pretend it's up there and keep going with the excitement with me. It was awesome. It was beautiful. I was looking at it, feeling like a little kid because there was a little kid on there that was me looking back at me, reminding me that I was a kid once before and I was still a little kid right now. And I was like, oh yeah, there's a swear word. There's a swear word on the back cover. That's not a mistake either. It was intentional, but I didn't set out to do that when I was writing this description. I first started off trying to understand how this had to be an ad, and as I got my head around that, I realized, I need to use this piece that I had already created once before to describe what story time is like as a young kid and then as an adult. That phrase changes story time, at least the way I think of it. And when I put that together, I realized, okay, now we have to turn this thing around and go from the perspective of an adult now looking back as a kid. And I think I achieved that with the swear word. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm nervous about that, but I'm excited. Oh, and by the way, I need to thank Stan. Also, I forgot to thank you for your editorial review. That's on the back cover too. Yeah, I plugged myself again. But it's just so exciting when you get things, when you spend so much time working on something and stressing over stuff, and then finally you see the little bits of effort that you've consistently done, just a little bit every single day, and just keep going, even though it doesn't feel like it's a big enough snowball yet. You know, it does. It rolls into that bigger snowball. You get to see the fruits of your labor at times. And this was one of those times. I was like, it looks nice. I like it. It feels professional. Someone's going to tell me that it's not, and I'll learn something new, and that's okay. It'll look less unprofessional later. But for now, I'm excited. So let's take a look at those two errors. Wow. So full bleed images, when you are putting those in your paperback, there are these things called margins and gutters and all kinds of stuff that I have no idea how it works. All I know is I look at the template that Amazon gives me and I try to fit all that stuff inside where those little dashed lines are so that the stuff stays in there and prints nice, I guess. But I apparently I didn't follow the directions, at least not exactly. They tell me, hey, in this email, hi, we checked your files and found issues that you need to fix before your book can be published on KDP. Hey, at least they emailed me pretty quick. Like I submitted this in the evening, and I think by the next morning, so 6 p.m. I submitted it, and I think by about 8 o'clock in the morning I got this email. It says, hey, you need to check the interior, increase the inside margins so that your content is not obscured when the book is bound. All right, I'd like for my content to not be obscured when you bind my book, so that sounds good. What do I need to do? And I looked it up, and here's what it looked like. This is the thing I sent. And yeah, you can see that this word up here, storyboard, and my daughter's name by Zoe, they're both outside these little gutter lines. I thought I put those in there, so I don't know what happened, but hey, I went back and I fixed that. Resubmitted it. It's not done yet. They haven't approved it, so I can't show you the darn cover. Next time. But I did score my author page, and I will include that link down below as well. I am an Amazon author. God, that sounds so scary to admit and exciting at the same time. Oh, but it still feels good. It's a nice leap of faith that I'm finally past. One thing that I'm finally past is this hibernation too, from society. I've been doing this for a long time. It's taken a lot of work to get to this point, and a big part of me has known that I've had to walk away from a lot of social activity. Because, hey, you know, when you got something that is a huge dream, if you're serious about it, there's a lot of sacrifices you're going to have to make. You know, and you could still be nice to people and let them know and not ignore them, but at the end of the day, there's still some of them are going to feel slighted that you have walked away from them. It's not them. You want to regroup with them, but you want to regroup with them when you are your whole you. And I haven't been my whole me for many, many decades because of things that I allowed society to convince me were important and to pay attention to. So, you know, but this hibernation period is finally starting to slow down, and just the ice is melting. I can see a little bit of sun. And part of that is just starting back on social media again. And I've got a love-hate relationship, like I think a lot of us do, with social media. I started saying that earlier. You know, there's aspects to it that are ugly, that I don't want to get involved in. But you kind of have to if you're going to be doing what you're trying to do for a living. You know, social media is here to stay in some form or another. I know there's massive layoffs going across the board in many different social media camps, but there'll be new ones. That's going to be here to stay. But at least it's a place where while we're working and we don't have time to meet up physically, we can still keep up with each other to some extent. And I'm finally starting to do that. I mean, yeah, I'm marketing too, and that's, yeah. But at least that's some kind of communication, and I'm starting to chat with people, and I'm thankful that that's there for that reason. So that is it. That's the weekend update. 2-week update. And I can't do Norm Macdonald, so I won't. But he was my hero once, or twice.